To God be the glory for the great things he had done. I want to thank Sister Trice and the committee and Crummy Bethel Church for taking time to remember my uncle. Uncle Sam, as you all have heard us call him all the time. But some people know him as Uncle Baby Doll. Most of you may know him who've grown up in Crummy Bethel and out in the community may know him as Uncle Baby Doll. But Uncle Samuel Allen was a character. He really was. Unscripted. I don't have a script because Uncle Sam was unscripted. If you had a conversation ever with him, I guarantee you he had a comeback with that conversation with him. He loved this church. He loved his church, Crummy Bethel Church. He loved it. I grew up in Crummy Bethel. Uncle Sam was here before I came to Crummy Bethel, so he loved this church. He loved the pastor. He loved his Sunday school class. He was going to make sure he got to Sunday school on time, so riding with me was not exactly what he wanted to do as he got older, so he liked driving himself when he was able to, but when he was not able to and I had to pick him up, he would always tell me I was too late. I'm coming too late. And so he wanted to make sure that he was in Sister Hill's class on time in his seat. And so sometime I would go to his home and Uncle Sam would be already gone. I would call him on that phone that he would have with him and I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm at the church. You're too late." So he was one of those people that really loved his church. He also loved, even though he was I would say a trustee, that title meant nothing to Uncle Sam. He loved being a part of the group. So he loved going into the finance office, counting or watching them count the money. I'm not sure which one he did, but he loved throughout his years being a part of that, being a part of that fellowship with Michael and the other group, Robert and those people. He loved going back there with them. So that was a part of his legacy. He would always remind us, these speakers you see in this church, he put these speakers in this church. This sound system, I would drive him by, my sister would drive him by, sure up different places, and he would often remind us, he would point to the church and say, "I put that sound system in that church." So he remembered the things that he really did, but he remembered that he loved God. He would always talk about the Lord no matter what came up. He talked about how good God was to him and how good God had blessed him, and we would often ask him about his age, and so his age would be 70 sometime it would be 60. I said, "You younger than I am." And sometime he'll go and say that his age was, he knew his age, but he wanted you to figure out what his age was. He said it didn't matter. He was here and God had blessed him to be here. So Uncle Sam, he was one that we will remember, and he would always tell us, he would say, "Time that has been will be no more." And he would just say that throughout the time, and as we grew up, he would often say when we ride, and "Time that has been will be no more." So I would say, Uncle Sam, one day I just asked him when we were out, when he had gone to the home, and I said, "What does that mean? You often say that all the time throughout the years." He said, "Because what are you going to do with your time? Do it now. Because that time won't come back and you won't get it back. So you do the best you can now because you won't get that time back." And he never complained about, we would invite him over, my sister Cheryl would invite him over to eat whenever he came to dinner with us. No matter what you served him, he never complained about it. When he came to the church to eat, it didn't matter what you served on his plate. He was going to eat it and not complain. But the one thing he would tell us, do not prepare for him green beans out of the can. He was not going to eat the green beans no matter who fixed them from the can, but everything else, he was not a complainer. So we do appreciate him, we do love him, and one thing coming to church, Uncle Sam wanted to make sure that he was going to dress right. In order to convince him, even when he moved to the home, he was going to wear his shirt, his tie, his suit. He had to. And if he wore them once or twice, they're going into the cleaners. But he wanted to make sure, we had to tell him and convince him it was dress down day in order for him to dress down, because other than that, he was not going to come, or he was going to wear his suit. If he couldn't wear the suit, then he was not going to come. So we always would say, "It's dress down day," or "It's youth day." You know, they wear casual clothes on youth day. And so he would accept that and then come. But we're going to miss him, and Crummy Bethel has lost a good soul because Uncle Sam really, really loved Crummy Bethel and his Crummy Bethel family. So we thank you for just remembering him. God bless you. And he does have people to remember him. He has a son and a daughter-in-law, 2 grandsons, and 4 grandchildren, so great-grandchildren. So he does have nieces and nephews and that will remember him, and a church family. So we loved him, and thank you for just remembering him.
Hey, good morning. I was delighted to remember Brother Samuel Allen. We had many fond memories together because we sat back in the finance room, and a lot of times we get through counting money and we still an hour or two sitting up here talking. And he would tell the pastor sometime that, Pastor, I think I talked to the Lord more than you. Because he said he riding in his car, sitting down. He said, I just stop and pray wherever I am. And he believed that when he left here, he was going to a better home, and he prepared himself for a better home because he believed that God was going to give him his heart desire. And I believe God gave him his heart desire when he left. He said he don't want to suffer or anything. He wanted to just transition. And from what I heard, that he went to bed one night and the next day he transitioned on away from here. So, you know, God sometimes honors our requests when we make our request known unto him who's able to present us faultless before his throne. That is Jesus Christ. And I believe that Mr. Allen today is in a better place because he don't have to go through what we're going through today. And he's not suffering. And I loved him as a brother because it was nothing you could say to him that he would let you have the last word about. He had to have the last word. And, you know, he wanted to go everywhere I go. I said, well, Mr. Allen, you can't go home with me. How come I can't go with you? I said, you going to sleep in the bed with me? He said, you know, it was just funny, a lot of things that he would say. Yeah, I'm going to sleep in the bed with you. I can sleep in between you and her. I said, Mr. Allen, that's too much. But he believed and he loved Crumley Bethel. He loved Crumley Bethel. When he didn't have nothing to do in the middle of the day, he'd come up here and sit up here in the sanctuary. And, you know, he'd come and sit down in the daycare. And all he wanted is a sandwich. You didn't have to give him much. You give him a sandwich and he was just as happy as anybody you would believe. And, yes, we're going to miss him, but you know what? He's gone to a better place. But we got to understand that he's gone and the table of the Lord is being set. But you got to understand that they can't crown the Lord until I get there. And I'm waiting and I'm fighting too, because I one day want to see the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings. And I believe that he's over there singing one of them old songs that he loved to sing. Mr. Allen loved to sing. And, you know, a lot of times, and I'm going to quit after this, he used to have, he'd go get a box of ribs and everything and invite everybody over. That's how much he wanted the company of other people. He never wanted to be alone. He would do certain things, but the older he got, he didn't do that. He wanted you to prepare all the food. Go and buy me something to eat. And, you know, you have to understand that sometimes we don't understand a lot of things that people go through. But we'll understand it better by and by. And so now, we don't want to be alone either. So, you know, we do things now to make us feel better and to make us be around people. So now we understand we don't ever want to be alone. We want to be together around other people so we can be able to embrace each other like brothers and sisters in Christ. And Mr. Allen believed in embracing people and sitting around other people and wanted to be in the midst of other people just for their company. And he loved our company, and we loved him too. But God loved him best.
First, giving honor to God, who kept my life. I 3 things I know about Mr. Allen. He would come in, he would sit back over there in that corner back over there. And I always said, I asked my husband, who is that man? He had a cool walk. He had a dip. He walked on his toes. We had a dip with his walk, and he always had his hand behind his back when he carried his hat. I remember that about Mr. Allen. Second thing I remember about Mr. Allen was he would pull out a whole pocket full of bills. Have a pocket full of money, but give you 2. Y'all know him, right? Pocket full of money. Here, you need something, he'll give you $1 bill. Mr. Allen loved God. He loved Crummy Belton. He loved his pastor. But Mr. Allen also loved women. Y'all know him, right? When I went to the nursing home to see him, me and my husband went to see him. Mr. Allen sitting out there in the hall. I said, Mr. Allen, I'll pick with you. I will pick with you if you give me the opportunity. Mr. Allen, what you sitting in this hallway for? He said, I'm sitting here looking. I said, what you looking at, Mr. Allen? He said, I'm looking at all these pretty women. My husband said, and you looking over there at my wife too? And he said, she a pretty woman. That's why I'm sitting here in this hallway. And I'm looking because that's what God gave me eyes to see, these pretty women. It's a good thing to have good memories. Yeah. And he gave us something to look out for. He was funny. He was really funny. Mr. Allen would get up in that choir stand up there in that corner, right over there, and he would try to sing, and you couldn't tell him he couldn't sing. And he'd be up there when you didn't want him up there. It's a good thing to have good memories. And when he passed, it touched my soul. Because, you know, when some people touch your life, everybody don't, you know, it just don't happen with everybody. Some folks just go on and you never think about them again. You know, they gone, you know, you say you done, you gone, you done. But when some people touch your lives, they touch your heart, and you see that what the people that he inspired. Because the nurses at the nursing home, they would say, y'all don't know, Mr. Allen's something else, but we love him to death. He stay up here and talk as much as he want to. And it's just, you know, with me, you wouldn't want me to talk. You know, they wouldn't say that about me. But to have somebody inspiring and encouraging and as fun and inspiration as Mr. Allen was, it's a good thing. He touched my heart, he touched my life, and I didn't even know his name was David. I didn't even know he had relatives up in this church. I didn't know until a couple of years ago. But he left a lasting impression, not just in my mind, but on my heart. And when he passed, it touched me. It was like, okay, my mama gone. I just can't take no more. It's just people just dying all around me. Just people just gone, just leaving here all around me. You know, so I don't want to hear no more. But then God gave me words to, you know, and a memory about Mr. Allen. He was a good person, even though he was a miser. He was a penny pitcher, but he told me, he said, I like finances. I didn't know that. And when you sit around him as young people, you get to learn something, because that's one thing he told me when he was in nursing. He said, I like young people to sit around me so that I could teach them. He said, because I was one of the few people that's over there at Crummy Belton, I know some history. And I was just sorry that I was not around him long enough to get a lot of that history. And that's just 4 or 5 memories that I had of Mr. Allen.